He moved slowly through the aisles of the library, his worn shoes whispering across the floor. The afternoon light poured through dusty windows, illuminating his silver hair and the small stack of books cradled in his hands. His name was Harold Finch, though no one really called him that. To the students, he was just the old librarian, the one who took too long to stamp a due date or who scolded them gently for dog-earing the pages. They laughed about him sometimes, mimicking his slow walk or his habit of murmuring lines from old novels. He never said anything back. He just smiled, adjusted his glasses, and went back to shelving. For 35 years, Harold had lived in that same rhythm, opening the library doors before sunrise, greeting the smell of paper like an old friend, and watching the world rush by without him. The city had forgotten who he was long ago, and maybe that was fine. He didn't need the world anymore. He had his books. But every now and then, when no one was around, he would sit behind the counter and pull out a worn notebook, its cover cracked and pages filled with neat, careful handwriting. He would read it silently, line by line, until his eyes softened and his breath trembled. Then he would close it and whisper, "Maybe someday." The students who came to the library only saw the surface. A man past his prime, quiet and slow. They didn't see the years before, when Harold had been something else entirely, a writer. Long ago, before the wrinkles and the gray hair, he'd been a young teacher who dreamed of changing lives through stories. He'd published a few short pieces in small magazines, but after his wife died, the words had stopped coming. Grief hollowed him out. He stopped writing, stopped teaching, and drifted into the silence of books. The library became his refuge, and soon his prison. People forgot he'd ever been more than a caretaker of shelves. One rainy afternoon, a group of students burst in, laughing loudly. They needed shelter from the storm. Harold gave them a soft smile and gestured toward the reading tables. They ignored him. One boy knocked over a stack of books while joking around. Harold bent to pick them up. The boy rolled his eyes and said, "Relax, old man, it's just paper." The words stung more than they should have. Harold smiled anyway, gathered the books, and whispered, "Paper remembers more than people do." The boy didn't hear him. None of them did. That evening, when the library emptied and the rain eased, Harold sat alone at his desk. He opened his notebook again and read a passage he'd written decades ago, a paragraph about forgiveness, about how kindness outlives cruelty. He read it aloud softly, and for the first time in years, he added a sentence. It was simple. Some stories wait for the right eyes to find them. He smiled, closed the notebook, and left it on the desk beside the return box. Days turned into weeks. One morning, a young woman came in, a university student, quiet, polite. Her name was Emily. She came every day to study for her exams, always sitting in the same corner near the window. Harold liked her focus. One day, she forgot her umbrella, and as she was leaving, he offered her his. She protested, but he insisted. "Books dry faster than people," he said with a smile. She laughed softly and took it. From that day on, she greeted him by name. It was the first time in years anyone had. One afternoon, while looking for a reference book, Emily accidentally knocked over a stack of old returns. Among them, she noticed the worn notebook. She opened it, curious. Inside were pages of prose so beautiful it made her stop breathing for a moment. The writing was raw and alive, filled with emotion she couldn't explain. She flipped to the last page and saw the name written in faded ink, Harold Finch. She stared at the librarian across the room, dusting shelves in silence. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about what she'd read. The next day, she came back and asked, "Mr. Finch, did you write this?" He froze, surprised. For a moment, he looked lost. Then he nodded slowly. "A long time ago," he said. She smiled. "It's incredible. You should publish it." He chuckled softly. "I think the world has enough voices already." She shook her head. "Not like yours." Without telling him, Emily made a copy of a few pages and submitted them to a national writing contest. She used his name. Weeks passed. Then one morning, a letter arrived for Harold, official and elegant. He opened it with shaking hands. It read, "We are honored to inform you that your manuscript, Paper Remembers, has been selected as a finalist for the National Literary Award." He sat still for a long time. Tears fell onto the letter. He whispered, "After all these years..." When the news spread, the students couldn't believe it. The old librarian, a writer? Some laughed. Some refused to accept it. But when the local newspaper published a feature titled "The Forgotten Author Behind Our Library Desks," everything changed. People began to visit, not just for books, but to meet him. They asked him to sign copies of his stories. Harold didn't understand why everyone suddenly cared. He only said, "Stories find their readers when they are ready." Months later, the award ceremony took place in the city's Grand Theater. Emily accompanied him, holding his arm as they walked under bright lights. When his name was announced, the crowd stood and applauded. He walked slowly to the stage, the same calm smile on his face. The host handed him a plaque engraved with his name. "Mr. Finch," she said, "your story touched thousands. How does it feel to finally be recognized?" He adjusted his glasses and looked out at the audience. "It feels like I never stopped being a librarian," he said softly. "Because writing, like reading, is about keeping stories alive. I just did it quietly." The crowd laughed gently, then cheered. He held the award close, eyes glistening. When he returned to the library the next week, something unexpected happened. Near the entrance, a new section had been created: local authors. His book stood there, front and center. The same students who once mocked him now greeted him with respect. Some asked for advice on their essays. He helped them kindly, never mentioning the past. One day, a group of teenagers found a new novel on the shelf, a bestseller titled The Weight of Paper. On the dedication page, it read, "To Harold Finch, the librarian who reminded me that words never grow old." They called him over, laughing with surprise. "Hey, Mr. Finch, they used your name in this book?" He smiled, but said nothing. He already knew. The author's name on the cover was Emily Carter. She visited that afternoon, holding her own copy of the book. "You kept your promise," he said. She nodded. "You taught me what stories mean." He looked at her for a long moment and said, "No, Emily, you reminded me." That evening, after closing, Harold sat at his desk, the lights dim around him. The shelves stood like silent witnesses to all his years. He opened his notebook one last time and wrote a single line. "Legacy is not what you leave behind, but what you awaken in others." Then he closed it gently, placed it on the shelf under Fiction F, and whispered, "Good night." When the library opened the next morning, the janitor found the notebook. Inside the front page, Harold had written, "For whoever finds this, keep reading. There's always another chapter." No one saw him again after that night. Some said he retired quietly. Some said he went to live by the sea. But every year on the anniversary of his award, someone left a single rose on the library counter beside his photograph. And when visitors asked who he was, the young librarian who replaced him would smile and say, "That's Mr. Finch, the man who taught this library how to dream."